Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. In this video I'll be previewing the final of the T20 World Cup between India and South Africa. Starting off with India, a fantastic victory over England in the semi-final, where after what happened in the 2022 semi-final, to hand an equal drubbing to the same opponent is a testament to how they have played in this tournament and in the ODI World Cup as well, where they've gone unbeaten leading up to the final. And I've narrated the 11 I'm going to narrate before. I think in the review of the Bangladesh match or the Australia, I think it was in the Bangladesh match. I'm going through the 11 again. That would be Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli to open the batting, Rishabh Pant at number 3. Now number 4, I'll say again, the reason why I've included Sanju Samson over Shivam Dube is because Dube hasn't been scoring runs and he hasn't been bowling. We saw India lose 2 early wickets in this latest match against England. In Barbados, the ball will bounce a lot more, especially when compared to how it was in a day game in Guyana. And if India lose 2 early wickets against this South African attack, I feel they'll be in a position of vulnerability where you've got to bank on Suryakumar and Hardik Pandya to get them to a position of stability and take things on themselves as well. Which is why Sanju Samson can bat in the top 4. He scored a century in South Africa, number 3 in ODI, so he can deal with testing conditions up front. And that's why if India do lose 2 early wickets, rather than sending out Suryakumar, who did well in this previous match, Samson can bat at 4. Then you've got Suryakumar, Hardik, Akshar and Jadeja if he plays to walk out once the situation is stabilised, which will be a great combination for the back end of the innings. So Suryakumar or Samson at 4 and one of them at 5. Hardik Pandya 6, Akshar Patel 7. And even though Jadeja scored 17 of 9 in the previous match, he bowled 3 overs, none for 16. But I thought, and I've said this before, in the Caribbean you only need the 8 overs of spin. India have got Akshar and Kuldeep and Jadeja both the 3 overs when England had no chance of winning the game. Which is why, is he walking out to bat often? No, he isn't. And I feel if India's buying lineup clicks, Jadeja will not have to walk out earlier, even in this match. If Jadeja has to walk out earlier, you know the players before him haven't done their job. So rather than fearing, and I'm not saying fear because of the whole rhetoric that India haven't been brave, I don't believe in that at all. But rather than thinking, what if the others fail when you know they aren't failing? What's the impact Jadeja is going to provide in a venue that it won't offer as much spin assistance as in Guyana in a day game, and he's not batting, which is why Arshdeep Singh can swing his bat around, Bumrah can hang around as well, as can Kuldeep Yadav. Combine those 3, you could get about 15 to 20 runs on your best day. If the others go well, then that's enough. And if India get to the score they got to against England at 171 mark, then I feel they've got the boots to defend that score. And in place of Jadeja, I've gone at Mohammad Siraj because, as I said, there's not as much spin purchase in this venue. Even when Jadeja bowled 3 overs in Guyana, was there much impact? No, there wasn't, because you only need the 8 overs of spin in the Caribbean. If you've got Siraj and Arshdeep in these conditions, and Bumrah doesn't have to bowl in the power play, where I know South Africa haven't been in the best of form with the bat, but they'd much rather play in Barbados than play in the other venues. And if one of their players, if Klaasen takes on the spinners and is successful, Hardik Pandya's bowling form has been terrible, where even when he was brought on very late against England, he managed to concede 14 runs to Jofra Archer, who was just swinging the bat when his team is going to lose the match. Which is why Mohammad Siraj, Arshdeep Singh bowling the power play, Bumrah, Kuldeep and Akshar in the middle, Bumrah to bowl in the middle and at the end, then it makes India a formidable bowling side. That's the way I would go about things. On the debate of playing Siraj over Dube, it's a case where you saw in an ideal world in the previous match, India batted 15 overs, only losing 3 wickets, and then they had the wickets at the end to unleash, and that's what they would have to do here. Where if you play Siraj ahead of Dube, you've got a Jadeja who, when he walks out at the end, can you back him to play innings like he did in this latest match against England? Yes, he can, especially on a surface like Barbados. Whereas if the extra wicket falls and you've not got a Shivam Dube in this side, from 11 to 15 here, you've got to up the ante slightly from the 7 to 10 phase, where that's again a consolidation phase, and then unleash it to death. So would you back Jadeja to walk out earlier and do that, I'm not so sure. Which is why I feel you've got to play that frontline batsman who can bat in the top to middle of the order. If Sanju Samson plays, the argument could be, well, if India are in a position where they can unleash, would you rather get Jadeja to walk out to bat in the end overs or Sanju Samson who will bat in the top 4? You'd rather Jadeja. But I don't think Jadeja would have to play much of an impact with the bat or with the ball. Which is why I feel a frontline batsman has to play. And if you had to get Siraj in, the only player you can get him in for is Jadeja to not compromise the bowling attack. Because I'd rather Hardik Pandya be a 4th seamer than having to bowl on a surface like this where he hasn't been bowling at his quickest. If he bowls these cutters against a South African batsman who, albeit aren't in form, is still a threat, then he may go for runs. Which is why I feel Siraj has got to play, and unfortunately that may have to be in place of Jadeja. And now in South Africa, an 11 out of 10 performance against Afghanistan. You can't ask for a more dominant victory than that, especially in a semi-final. And in terms of their 11, I think they'll go with the same combination they went with for that recent game. There's only one player, if you're looking at the options available on the bench, there's only one player who could be in contention to come into the side, and even he hasn't played for the last 2 matches, that's Neil Bartman. Because they've got Marco Jansen, hasn't been as impactful in this tournament, but also plays into their batting depth, where if you've got Marco Jansen at 7, you've not got much batting depth because your bowlers can bat, but do they provide as much assurance at number 8? No, they don't. Kagiso Rabada, with how he went for the first part of this tournament and before this tournament, I thought Bartman should have played ahead of him, but I think in the last few matches Rabada has been very good, which is why he plays in the side. And Anrik Noki has been good throughout this tournament. So you got 3 seamers there. Maharaj would be a key part of the side. Tabraiz Shamsi, man of the match performance in the previous game. So is there any way Neil Bartman can play in this match? No, there isn't. The only way would be is if you bank on Markram and Keshav Maharaj to both spin in the middle, and then you bring in Bartman, and I don't think they should do that. So this side would be locked as it is. On Reza Hendricks, before there was a debate on whether they could bring in Ryan Rickleton in place of him to open the batting. In my view, with what the situation demands in playing this venue, you should get to... I said 45 to 48 in the previous venue in Guyana when I was reviewing the India-England match, and I'll say this again, they should get to that kind of a score. If Quinton de Kock plays the way he plays, which attack the bowling from the get-go, and Reza Hendrick plays a steady hand, a bit like what I want the Indian opening combination to be when Rohit attacks the bowling and Kohli plays a steady hand, then they can easily get to that 45 to 48 mark. And with what I'd said on Shivam Dube, where he hasn't been scoring runs and he hasn't been bowling, it's not only because he hasn't been scoring runs that I'd said Samson should play ahead of him, it's that if you're looking at the strength that you could say on his best day he can provide, which is attacking the spinners, does he look like succeeding in that role at this point in time? No, he doesn't. Whereas would I say the same thing about Reza Hendricks, where if Siraj plays Ashdeep, and if Siraj doesn't play, you've got Ashdeep and Bumrah to bowl in the power play, can Reza Hendricks still demonstrate the technical soundness to get through that early phase? Yes, he can. So this is why I don't think there's a need to replace him with Ryan Rickleton. They won't do that. I don't think they should, because I don't think there's been much of a compromise in the faith you can put on Reza Hendricks to exhibit that technical soundness in this match, where when playing for the Joburg Super Kings, I remember, especially in the first season, he wasn't in great form. They sent out Jerd Kitsi ahead of him in that knockout match. He scored 12 of 17. Reza Hendricks walks out 3 and scores that 96. And he wasn't in great form in this in this year's edition as well. So I feel in that knockout match he has shown, for example, in that SA20 game, that even when he wasn't in form, he's still been able to provide the goods on the day, which is why I still keep him aside. And I feel this lineup is best when they've demonstrated this before, the floating order, where at times Heinrich Klaasen has walked ahead of Marco has walked at number 5 when he's slated to bat at number 3. I feel if they lose 2 early wickets, David Miller should walk out ahead of Klaasen, take South Africa to some safety with whoever's batting alongside him, and then you've got Heinrich Klaasen, Tristan Stubbs, Marco Jansen to play the finisher role. If the openers give them a good start, then rather than sending David Miller up the order where he takes that 10 balls, nowadays I think the last couple of years he takes that 10 balls before unleashing, they could send out Henrik Klassen, even Tristan Stubbs ahead of Miller, Marco Janssen if you want at the end as well. So I feel this lineup operating in a fluid manner makes them a threatening side. And I feel with the form that the bowlers have been, if the batsman that hasn't put in convincing performances throughout this campaign, if they can band together in this case, then it's optimal. And finally on the comparison of 11s, and I'll be factoring in what each team has to do in the particular phase of the innings when I'm making this comparison. So starting off with the top 4 that can get you to 45 to 48 for 1 after the power play. For India, you've got Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant and Suryakumar Yadav, compared with Quinton de Kock, Reza Hendricks, Aiden Markram and whoever walks out of 4. I think that would be David Miller of 2 early wickets for. Comparing the opening combinations, Rohit Sharma has played 2 match-defining knocks in his last 2 innings, and Quinton de Kock are never back again in terms of turning up on the day. So I'd say both of those 2 would be going in with some confidence there. Virat Kohli and Reza Hendricks haven't had the tournaments that they would have liked, but I don't think Virat Kohli is out of form as such, and I could say the same thing about Reza Hendricks. I think they're finding ways to get up, but especially Virat Kohli, with the knock he playing against Bangladesh as well, where he's looking good before he played that shot, as I've said. I don't think he's out of form. I feel he's finding ways to get out, which is why, and this may be unfair, but purely because of reputation, I've gone with Virat Kohli to be more of a bankable option, so the opening combination has got a slight edge there. But I don't think there'd be as much of a difference. And now at number 3, Rishabh Pant has been looking to go gung-ho whenever he's walked out to bat. It's a very high-risk approach, and against these South African seamers, I'm not so sure about how it would go, when he's also got a chance of giving his wicket away off a fairly innocuous delivery that Sam Curran bowled in the previous match. Aiden Markram hasn't been in form, but I feel as he got the soundness to get South Africa to the point that they should get to in the power play, yes, he has got that soundness. And Suryakumar Yadav, after 2 early wickets fell in the previous match, him and Rohit Sharma took risk-free options to set the innings up for India. And whoever walks out, David Miller, yes, I feel he can do that. Henrik Klassen would have one gear looking to attack all the way through, and I feel after the power play when the spinners are bowling, I feel him playing a part would dictate things for South Africa. So overall, in terms of the top 4 soundness as far as the 11s, the combination I think they'll go, because I don't think that plays Sanju Samson, even though I've got him in my side, if Shundu plays at number 5 and Suryakumar has to be at number 4, I feel the soundness as far as the top 4 concerned could be fairly equal there, because I think either side has got the chance of capitulating. And now on over 7 to 15 when dealing with the spinners, India have got whoever is there at number 5, whether it be number 5 if it's Hardik Pandya or Shivam Dube, you Akshar Patel as well. If Sanju Samson plays Sanju Samson, so they've got the resources to deal with the spinners. But South Africa, Henrik Klassen definitely. Tristan Stubbs I think is a very good player of spin, but again, how would he go against these Indian spinners in conditions where it won't offer as much assistance as Guyana in a day match, but spinners will still have a part to play during the middle overs. And the South African players have got a habit of going back to further deliveries or missing straight balls, which could come into play when Akshar Patel was bowling. And Marco Janssen, where he's played that one impact knock with the bat, how is he going to go against these spinners? You don't know. So in terms of the players who can deal with the spinners in the middle overs, I feel India have got that edge there. And now with the bowling, Arshdeep Singh has been a bit hit and miss in terms of economy rate, even though he's been the 2nd highest wicket taker in this tournament. Marco Janssen not had as much of an impact with the ball. Jesse Rumrah has been by far the best bowler in this tournament, so I feel whoever he's compared against, he would have the edge there. Rabada has been bowling better in the last few games, but do you still think he's at a point where, even though the conditions are there for him, do you still think he's at a point where he can own the scenario as much as Bumrah can? I don't think so. Anrik Nokia has been good this tournament, providing impact breakthroughs. If they play Siraj, then I feel Siraj has been bowling well. That could even I say even out. Anrik Nogi has been playing a lot more than matches, so maybe the momentum could be with him. If Siraj doesn't play and you're comparing Anrik Nokia with Hardik Pandya, definitely Anrik Nokia has got the edge there. And now the spinners, the South African spinners have been good, but when you're comparing them with Kuldeep Yadav and Akshar Patel, with how the impact they've created, and it's maybe not a fair comparison because both of them have been good, but I feel the Indian spinners have got the edge there. So overall, I think India have got the edge to win this contest. And I think for either side, there's been a conversation to say, what if the match is rained off and both teams share the trophy? I'll be happy with that as well, but I think either side would want themselves to win a final, because in South Africa's case, they've not made a final all this while. They made the semi-final, unfortunately not, and gone past them. And for India, after what happened in the final of the ODI World Cup, where they won all the way until the last match, I feel they both want to get through a final to psychologically feel they've crossed that barrier. I feel even if both teams win it, while both narratives would be satisfied, India not having won so for over a decade, South Africa even longer than that, I feel either side would want to win a final to really feel as if they've crossed that barrier. But both teams have gone through unbeaten, deserving teams in the final. Let's see how things go. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Remember, this is my opinion.